Buying out your auto lease in 5 simple steps. And you don't need to pay a bunch of dealer fees to do it. What many consumers with a lease don't seem to realize is that they can buy out their leased vehicle without paying a bunch of additional dealer fees to do it. Hi, I'm Kevin Hunter, known in the automotive world for the last 15 years as the Homework Guy, and the founder-creator of the now famous hassle-free car buying service. It's always been true that a lease customer can buy out their leased vehicle at the end of the lease term, but the process for how it works often varies depending on the leasing company, state regulations, and dealer practices. But that's what we're here to uncover. The amazing Elizabeth joins me now as we present our 5-step guide to understanding how lease buyouts work and how to avoid unnecessary dealer fees.
We'll get to those steps in just a moment, but first, it's important that you understand what the lease buyout price is. So we start you off with some homework. The lease buyout price is stated in your lease agreement as the residual value of the car, plus any remaining payments, taxes, and fees required by the leasing company. What is a residual value, you ask? This is the predetermined value of the car at the end of the lease. As I said, the number is right on your lease contract. It is generally not negotiable. You can't change it, and better yet, no dealer can change it either. And an extremely important fact to know is that fees charged at the end of a lease are governed by very clear language in the Consumer Leasing Act. This is a piece of legislation you absolutely must be familiar with if you're considering buying out your leased vehicle. We will cover this a bit more before the end of the show today.
Here's why the residual value is typically fixed. First, it's predetermined by leasing companies. The residual value is calculated based on the expected depreciation of the vehicle and is set by the leasing company or lender. It's usually non-negotiable because it influences your monthly lease payments and it's based on industry standard formulas and market data. Secondly, there's a contractual obligation. The residual value is part of the lease contract you agreed to, so it's locked in unless there's an exception. So, for example, if your car's stated residual value is $20,000 and you have no additional payments or penalties to pay, that's the price you'll pay when you buy it, $20,000 plus applicable sales tax and titling fees. You cannot legally be charged a document fee, a dealer fee, or any other kind of fee the dealer has that wasn't already spelled out on your lease contract. The facts are clearly laid out in the Consumer Leasing Act that Liz mentioned.
Can you avoid the dealer in the process? Yes, in some cases. Some leases offer direct buyout. Some leasing companies allow you to buy out the vehicle directly without going through a dealership. This avoids facing dealer-imposed fees like documentation fees, inspection fees, or other markups, all of which we've made clear are very illegal. During the pandemic, many lease companies pulled this option away from consumers, but now it's back. So if there's dealer involvement, as in the leasing company requires you to finalize the buyout through a dealership, the dealer may try to add these fees. However, these are avoidable if the buyout terms spelled out on your lease contract don't explicitly require any dealer fees. Now, a little housekeeping. There was a company we talked about a few years ago called Lease, and after learning more about their service, we now recommend that you avoid them at all cost. They started out being a good company, but quickly turned into the same kind of greedy little scoundrels like dealers are. We apologize for ever recommending them. Do not ever go with Lease End.
What all the Consumer Leasing Act means for you is that there's no hidden fees. Dealers are legally bound to honor the terms of the lease agreement. If the buyout price and fees are stated in the contract, the dealer cannot just arbitrarily add new charges. There are violation consequences. If a dealer tries to impose fees not outlined in the lease, you can report them to the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, or your state's Attorney General's office, the AG office. The leasing company, as the lessor, may also intervene on your behalf. Dealers have faced legal action and been fined in the past for charging fees to lease customers that were not specified in the original lease documents. In the state of Florida, for example, several car dealerships have faced legal action for imposing undisclosed fees on consumers opting to buy out their leased vehicles. Notably, the Florida Attorney General's office investigated and settled cases with dealers such as the Lexus of Clearwater and Gunther Motor Company. These dealerships paid a ton of money after they were found to have charged additional fees during lease buyouts that were not specified in the original lease agreements. These actions underscore the enforcement of the Federal Consumer Leasing Act, which mandates that all fees associated with a lease, including those applicable during a lease buyout, must be clearly disclosed in the original lease agreement. Charging additional undisclosed fees violates this act. Consumers who have encountered such practices are encouraged to immediately report that dealer. Common fees to be aware of and watch out for: a disposition fee. Some leasing companies waive this fee if you buy out the lease. Dealer documentation fee, often completely avoidable if you're handling the transaction directly with the leasing company. And an inspection fee, typically unnecessary unless your own state requires it for registration purposes or by the leasing company. Finally, there's state taxes and title fees. These are unavoidable extra costs and are based on your state's laws.
Here's a pro tip for avoiding dealer fees. Ask about direct buyouts. Push the leasing company to facilitate the buyout without a dealer being involved. You can shop around for financing. Some dealers push their financing options, adding hidden costs. Have pre-approved financing from your own bank or credit union already lined up.
We always say that.
Yep. You can request transparency, demand an itemized breakdown of any fees the dealer says you have to pay, and compare them with the leasing company's documented requirements on the lease documents.
If it's not on the lease document, you don't pay it.
Exactly. And make sure you're familiar with the Truth in Lending Act and the Consumer Leasing Act.
Why some dealers still try to add fees? Dealers may try to profit from the transaction by imposing fees, adding a markup to the buyout price. However, leasing companies typically specify the exact buyout terms, leaving no room for legitimate dealer-added charges. All right, that covers all the legal and background stuff to know. Here's our 5-step process to buying out your lease. Step number 1, review your lease agreement. Locate the residual value of the car in your lease agreement. As we've explained, this is the predetermined buyout price at the end of the lease. Note any additional payments, taxes, or penalties that may apply to the buyout.
Step 2 is contact the leasing company. Call the leasing company and confirm the buyout price. Ask if the company allows direct buyouts without involving the dealership, and verify whether any fees, such as disposition or inspection fees, are applicable to this buyout.
And step number 3, secure financing on your own if it's needed. If you don't plan to pay cash, research and arrange financing through your own bank or credit union. Get pre-approved to simplify the transaction and potentially negotiate a better rate.
Step 4, negotiate with the dealer if you have to. If the leasing company requires that you process the buyout through the dealership, request a detailed breakdown of all fees they intend to charge and challenge all unnecessary fees. Insist that they honor the leasing company's residual value without any markup at all.
That's right. Step number 5, finalize the buyout. Complete payment to the leasing company or dealership if applicable. Ensure all taxes and title fees are paid as required by your state. Obtain the car's title from the leasing company once the transaction is complete. If financed, the lien holder will retain the title until the loan is paid off, or you'll get a copy of the loan with a lien specified on it.
You can start out by contacting the leasing company directly. Just say, "Hello, I'm interested in buying out my leased vehicle. Can you confirm the residual value and total buyout cost, including any taxes and fees? Also, can I complete this transaction directly with your company, or do I need to go to a dealership?"
If you have to deal with a dealer, just say, "Thank you for assisting with my lease buyout. I've confirmed the residual value and total cost with my leasing company." Give them a heads up on this. Could you provide a detailed breakdown of any additional costs you might expect me to pay? If they add fees, then you say, "The leasing company did not mention those fees. Could you explain why they're necessary? If they're not required by the leasing company or state law, I would like them removed." If they refuse to adjust fees, ask, "Are you not familiar with the legal requirements spelled out in the Consumer Leasing Act? It states that you cannot charge me fees that aren't already specified in my lease documents."
Here are some final tips. Always remain polite and firm. Keep all your documentation, including lease agreements, emails, and payment receipts for your records. If you encounter issues, escalate the matter to the leasing company's customer service or seek legal advice if you feel it's necessary.
If you found this video helpful, remember to give us that great big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and leave a comment down below. Let us know about your experiences with buying out a lease, and if you did something to get around the dealer tactics used on you, share it in our comment section down below. We love hearing your stories, and great comments always help the Homework Guy community. Also, if you'd like help from one of our car coaches when buying out or turning in a lease, please let us know at 701-441-3399.
And remember to visit our website, thehomeworkguy.com, and you can look for us on Facebook too. The Homework Guy team is always here to represent you, the car buyer. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video.
To all of you long-term subscribers out there, you guys rock. I'm Kevin Hunter, the Homework Guy, signing off on behalf of the amazing Elizabeth and the entire hassle-free Homework Guy team. Thank you for listening.